Hello, welcome to yet another episode of 177 Nations of Tasmania, and today the nation is Sri Lanka, and I have with me Kalana. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Kalana, I really only met very recently, so I can't say too much about him. That's what's great about this, is that we're all learning.
Yep.
But I do know that the Sri Lankan population in Tasmania has increased quite a bit recently, as with some of the other South Asian nationalities, and that's partly due to the Australian government's regional visa program, which I'm sure I'm going to be interviewing more people who will talk about this, but I'm going to ask Kalana a bit about his experience. But without me rabbiting on too much, I just like to say welcome, Kalana.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for doing this. It's a great way to voice us out, I would say.
Anyway, we might start with first telling me why you first came, or when and why did you first come to Tasmania?
Why will be a long story, Mark, about when. I would say that will be last year, October 2019. That's when wife and I decided to move to Tasmania from Melbourne. Why, long story short, I studied accounting in Melbourne. So for me, it was not impossible. I would say impossible to get PR, permanent residency through Melbourne program. So the government initiated a program where my immigrants have to move to a regional state. So wife and I, we chose Tasmania just because there's so many hotels around as well. Because I originally come from a hospitality background. So so I thought I could find a job in here. We didn't have many options, to be honest, but we were excited to move to Tasmania. And if you ask me, would you regret it? It's a big no. So I migrated in 2015 from Sri Lanka to pursue my higher studies, which is accounting. It wasn't my choice to come here, to be honest, because I always wanted to go to a Middle East country and then start earning, because I was a 23-year-old kid. I was already working in an accounting background in Sri Lanka. So my plan was to go to Middle East and start earning some money in there. But then my mom said, why don't you try Australia? So that just opened my eyes. Growing up, I was the only man in my household, and I still remember to this date. So my mom once said, because we used to eat and drink in Sri Lanka, 18-year-old boy just comes to work life. Obviously, we go out for drinks. So every Friday we used to drink. Mm-hmm. Every single Friday, we called it Disco Friday. Okay. And then we drink, and then midweek on Wednesday or so, we'll still drink sometimes. And then my mom told me once, hey, you got two sisters and myself living in this house. So whatever you do, just make sure that you come home. So this is an advice that I got from my mom when I was 18. So since that day, every single night, even at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the drunk version of me, I'll still go home. So that was me. So I have never went on a trip, 2-3 days trips with my mates, and because I had to abide that responsibility which is the only responsibility which my mom gave me. And then all of a sudden, when I was 23, my mom said, hey, do you want to go to Australia? Oh, wow. This is a young man who has never been away from my family for 23 years. Yeah. And my mom says, hey, do you want to go to Australia? I said, are you sure? Yeah. So the first night that I spent in Melbourne was the first night away from my house for 23 years. I had 2 friends in Melbourne. Those are the only 2 guys that I knew in Melbourne. So it was a bit of challenge for me. Came here to study accounting, which was once again not something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But then again, I had to do it if I had to get permanent residency. Us coming here, our main objective would be to settle here, because we are all coming here to settle here. Obviously, few of the guys, they come here, they study and they go home, but majority of the people would like to stay here if given the chance.
What kind of place did you grow up in?
I grew up in Colombo.
Okay.
Yeah, Colombo.
So Colombo biggest city?
Home. The biggest city. Yeah, I would say the biggest city. Yeah. It was fun. Reflecting back, if I ever wanted to go back, I will always, I'm pretty sure, drop of a hat, I'll be in Sri Lanka for sure. Because, I don't know, we had so much difficulties, Mark, in Sri Lanka growing up, but we really didn't know those difficulties because everyone around us had the difficulties as well. We had financial difficulties. We didn't have a proper house till I was 18, so I had to move from one place to another. So yeah, we'll stay in a house for 2 years, and then just when we get to know the people around us, we had to move to another place. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it is still in Colombo, but then again, with the traffic and all the stuff, it's pretty far away. 5 minutes in Hobart is like a 30 minutes drive in Sri Lanka. Yeah, 5 minutes walk in Hobart. So yeah, just with the traffic and all those. So Sri Lanka, growing up, we played cricket a lot. We had access to our friends' houses. We used to go there, and growing up in Sri Lanka, we had so many other cultures as well because we had Tamils. I am a Sinhalese. Then we had the Muslims. We had Burghers living in Sri Lanka. So yeah, it was once again a multicultural country, and so we used to celebrate. So Muslims, they have Ramadan where they give Vatalapan and all the stuff. So we used to go to their house. We used to eat Vatalapan. They used to come to our houses on April because we celebrated Sinhala Urudda. So yeah, it's like a Chinese New Year, but a Sri Lankan Sinhala New Year. Sinhalese Tamils New Year. So yeah, we make these small treats and all those stuff. It was fun. It was fun welcoming people, and then where I studied was a school called Lyceum International. So before that I studied in a school called Asoka College. My parents decided to put me to Lyceum, which was my second school, which was an English medium school when I was 12 years old. So till then, Mark, I only knew the word cat and dog. That's it.
So you mean that the main language at the school was English?
Yes. In my second school, the main language was English. In my first school, it was Sinhala. So by the age of 12, a guy knowing only cat and dog, and then I went to this new school where the first word that I heard was a word called synonym. I'll never forget that word. It was very, very difficult for me. And then I started learning English through other guys who spoke with me. So spoken English was the only English that went to my head. When I came out of that school in 2010 and I was 18 years old, I knew English, but it's a simple English, and then I was confident with my English as well because the school made us believe who you are, like, stick to your strengths. I learned all the spoken English from all my friends and all the stuff, and then I came here, then I started reading a book, and then that's when I found out there's so many other words that I don't know in English. There's so many other words. It's really crazy. It's funny as well because it took me 27 years to read a proper book. It's something that I regret, I would say, because reading a book in Sri Lanka, for me, I would always laugh at people who read a book. Hey, you're not supposed to read, man. Let's go play cricket. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. That, once again, I would put the credits to Tasmania, because in Tassie, I came here, I had the peace of mind to read, which I didn't have in Melbourne. That's what I said when starting this podcast. Mentally and also physically, I feel better. Because up to now I've read about 5 books, which I'm a very, very slow reader, but 5 books is a lot to me. I did finish my degree, but in the meantime I started working in hospitality in a motel, to be honest. Yeah, so that's when I started liking hospitality background, because I always thought I'm good with people rather than I'm not a back office person. So why not do something that I like and then pursue my dream in that way. That decision cost me in a way, but no regrets though, because I'm doing something that I like. The thing about accounting is, Mark, you got to understand from the countries and the nationalities and the cultures that we come from. When we are growing up, all we hear is from our parents, you got to be a doctor, you got to be an engineer, or else you got to be an accountant. Those are the only 3 careers that we knew. I didn't know. I personally didn't know that there was a career called social worker. Mm-hmm. None of the parents tell us, hey, child, I want you to become a nurse. Nobody tells us.
Yep.
But they said, hey, I want you to become a doctor. And there's so many nurses in here. There's so many aged care. Like, there's so many other career opportunities.
Yeah.
But growing up in 2010, I didn't have the access to this information. So for me, my mom was like, why don't you study accounting? And yeah, that's what I chose. I didn't know about HR. You could blame it on us as well. But then again, in 2010, I don't think we had so much information like we have now. Obviously, people in 1900s would say, yeah, like would have a different story. But still, even though we had information, yeah, even growing up in Sri Lanka, I can just recall few of my friends who wanted to do hospitality, but hospitality in Sri Lanka is regarded as it's not a richer career option like accounting, I would say. So we always look down on people who did hospitality as a career. And then when we came to Australia, and then we saw how much value each job holds, for in a particular firm or a company. Every job right nowadays, even a cleaner is valued highly in Australia, but not in Sri Lanka. So yeah, that's something that I really like it here. I think that's why in Australia we opened our eyes, and then we just started to see so many career options. I started reaching out to all my school friends who graduated from school at the age of 18. So it's a 10-year journey for all of us. And then I asked most of them, like, did you have this? Did you always know that you were going to get into this one? Except the doctors, because the doctors chose science as a stream, and they continue it, and they had to continue it, and now they are doctors in Sri Lanka. I'll give you an example of as well. I spoke to one guy his name is Jared, and he had really bad grades in Sri Lanka. Like, growing up in Lyceum, if you don't get more than 70 or 50 for subjects, you are regarded as a dumb student. Yep. So for us, he was a dumb student because he didn't have the academics to back him up with. And I asked him, Jared, now when you left school, what did you feel? Because you were a dumb student. You were regarded as a dumb student. Mm-hmm. And he told me, Kalana. So machang is what? Machang equals mate in Sri Lanka, in Australia. So machang is what we call, hey mate, hey machang. Yeah. So he said, machang, I always knew I wasn't into studies, but I always knew that I'm into arts and all the stuff. Mm-hmm. Now he's a well-known graphic designer in Sri Lanka. So he knew what he wanted to do. But people like us, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I still can remember I asked one of my lecturers as to what I need to do. And then he said, just do accounting. Because I always knew that I don't have the brain power to be an engineer and all the stuff. And those stuff I didn't like. But I always like public speaking. I like to be around people. Yeah. Public speaking, because my school had this small subject where they inspired us to be public speakers. I did quite well in that subject. So I thought, hey, at the age of 18, I'll become a public speaker. Then it hit me that you can't be a public speaker right away, because you need to have the experience to talk about life. And yeah, so that's originally what I wanted to be. But to make everyone around me happy, I had to do accounting. Okay. Yeah. So even right now, if you ask me, what do you want to be? I said, obviously, a social worker, but there's a part of me who wants to be a public. I'm not quite sure in Australia yet, but if you go to Sri Lanka, if you say, hey, my son is a graphic designer and my other son is an accountant, everyone will look at the accountant and say, hey, you're doing a good job. But the accountant is not doing much, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You get the reports, you balance the reports. Here's what we do. But the graphic designer, although he could be making more money, but yeah, he had to stand on his feet. He had to think on his feet as well. So much thinking going in their brain. I spent 5 years in an accounting firm, in Sri Lanka. So I had a sit-down job, desk job, I would say, where pay was all right. And then I started enjoying myself. But then again, I always knew that I'm not that person. I came here to study Bachelor of Business because not that I wanted to start my business, but I wanted to just broaden my knowledge in terms of marketing and all the stuff. After 5 years, right now, if you ask me, what do you want to study, Cal? I would say social services, because now I've just generated this love for talking to people. If I could change someone's life, I would really, like, if I have the opportunity just to change someone's life, I would really love it, because that's what really matters.
So after you left school, you studied accounting in Sri Lanka, and you, if I understand rightly, you just sort of
Went with the flow.
went with the flow. And so after you graduated, what was your plan, or did you not have a plan?
I didn't graduate in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
I did a long course, which is a bit difficult as well, but I took that challenge, and I was working in the meantime as well. But most of the kids, they don't work in Sri Lanka until they get a bachelor degree. But I didn't. Because I grew up without a dad. So so for me, I had to support my family as well. So at the age of 18, I joined this bank, and then I was pursuing my accounting degree as well.
Okay.
So I couldn't finish it, and to finish that only I came to Melbourne. So I got some credits of the course. So the course that I did was something called ACCA. So I got some credits of that ACCA and then transferred it to Melbourne campus. So the 3-year degree in Melbourne, it only took me 2 years to finish because of that credit. So I graduated in Melbourne in 2017. That's when I graduated. And then if you ask me the same question, what did you feel like? I felt like I wasted my life, to be honest. Because in Melbourne, so this was a 25-year-old me who is starting to see life now in a different perspective. And then so 25-year-old me just graduated from a university in Melbourne, and then holds an accounting degree, but I couldn't get into a job because there was so much of competition, Mark, in Melbourne. Like if I apply for a job, they would always ask me my work rights and all the stuff. I'm an international student. I either have 20 hours to give you, or else in my TR, temporary residency, I can give you my full-time working rights. But then again, I can only give you 2 years. They didn't want that. They wanted PR. Then when I was 25, I took this decision because I was working in a small motel as well. And then I started liking customer service experience. I said, look here, I'm not going to stick with accounting. I'm going to broaden up my knowledge as well, and my experience. I'm going to move away from accounting, pursue my career in hospitality. But I didn't have a degree. I didn't know anything about it. But I just took that decision, and I'm glad that I took that decision, because most of my friends who didn't take that decision back then is still looking for jobs in accounting. Like obviously some found it, and now they don't like it. Because they say, hey, this is not the stream that I want to be. But when I say I took that decision, I really liked it. But when it comes to PR, it really cost me because I didn't have a job in accounting. Because I had there's this point system, Mark. So when I was applying, 80 was a high score. Out of 100, I don't know out of how much. 80 was a high score, and I had 80. I did everything else other than having an accounting job. So I thought, hey, my life is good. I had a good job in hospitality, something that I like. My life is good. And then, bang, the government changed the rules, said, look here, now you need to get 95. And then, I was like a lost ball in the woods, I would say.
So then that's why you moved to Tasmania, because you get extra points for being in a regional area.
Yes. You get extra points, and then everyone came here. And then in the meantime, I heard so many other stories about Tasmania. Like, so the hotel that I worked at in Melbourne, a very prominent hotel in Melbourne itself. So they told me, Tassie's great. Man, you're going to live your life. Tassie's beautiful. Cal, that's where my manager said, Cal, that's where I want to retire. If I ever get a chance, so they gave me a good picture. And then I got these other friends who said, man, Tasmania is like a desert. It's like a desert. And then they spoke all negative stuff about Tassie. And then I told my wife, you know what, let's just go experience it. And came here. Yeah, no regrets. Because I moved away from accounting in 2017, I had about 3 years experience in hospitality. Mm-hmm. So that really helped me to land a job in here. So I came here, I was 110 kilos, Mark.
Oh, really?
110 kilos on the first day that I landed here. And so I wasn't, that's why I said physically and mentally,
I was going to say that people listening, they can't see you, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can tell it doesn't look like anything like 110 kilos.
Man, guys, I'm about 77 now. So I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do anything. It's just, I think the mental satisfaction, I don't know. So I came here. The first thing that I did was I wanted to look good. I wanted to look good and I wanted to feel good. Mm-hmm. That's so wife and I said, hey, let's just skip dinner, because we used to eat a lot in Melbourne. I used to drink, eat, party, because Melbourne is like second home for Sri Lankans. There's so many Sri Lankan families around there. So, and then when Sri Lankans drink, we drink a lot. Yeah, we drink a lot and we can eat a lot as well. So, and it's good food, Sri Lankan. So yeah, and then I came here, we skipped dinner, and I started working because I had to give out my CVs. Mm-hmm. Once again, so this is a 27-year-old, because I'm just reflecting my life as well with you. 27-year-old who just thought, hey, my life is going to be good in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. Within a month, he had to pack everything, move to Tasmania, different state, without a job, and has to go job hunting once again with his wife now. So much responsibility. We didn't have money coming in, but we had money going out constantly because of the rents and all the stuff. That was a challenge that we took upon ourselves. And I think wife and I worked till about Glenorchy, just handing out CVs every single day. And without knowing, I lost some weight as well because there are so many hills. We had our lunch around 4:00, and then since from 4 to 10 o'clock in the morning, we didn't have anything. It was just water, and then I'll drink my tea or coffee around 7 o'clock. That's all I did. And then in the meantime, we went job hunt, like Mark, you name it, I applied for everything on Seek, and I saw this hotel advert on Seek, and then I told my wife, called her, I still remember to this day, this is a hotel that I want to work in. I didn't know anything about the hotel, but I went to their website and I said, this is a hotel that I want to work in, and I applied. I did my research really good about the hotel. I knew in and out about the hotel. And they called me for an interview, and I aced the interview because I knew about the hotel so much. And within a month of being here, I got the job. So
I can't say that's just luck.
Nah, that's sort of,
you did a lot of things to help yourself.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I would say a lot of job seekers don't do.
I had the experience to back it up with as well. Yeah. That's one of the problems that, like I said, if I didn't choose this hospitality side in 2017 in Melbourne, so obviously to support us, Mark, we got to do some job. And what I did was I did cleaning. You name it, I've done it. Did cleaning, I've been a kitchen hand. I did all those sorts of jobs to put milk on the table. Most of my friends had to support themselves, so they were still a cleaner when they come to Tassie. Now in Tasmania, you don't get many cleaning jobs because it's not like in Melbourne. Because in Melbourne, I think the community as well is very strong. If I want a job right now in Melbourne, all I got to do is just call up a friend. Hey, I'm looking for a job. And then he'll say, hey, this guy is looking for a job. And then I'll get a job within 3 days. And that's not the thing in Tassie. Since the day I stepped foot in Tassie, in Hobart, I would say I enjoyed my life because so many free things. And even Salamanca market, like, you could go there. You don't need to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
Like you still can see the beauty of that place. So wife and I, we went to a rectangle thing. On the very first month we came here, and I still remember telling my wife, wow, this is free. This wouldn't have been free in Melbourne. You know what I'm saying? And then there's people dancing, there's people getting to know each other. So Tassie's small. It's a small family. But still, it's so important to have those free stuff open to the communities, especially for people like us, who don't have much money coming in, who needs to get away from reality for a while, just to enjoy freedom, just to see what life is all about. And then all you had to do is just walk for 20 minutes, bang, you'll get something free for sure. There are so many places where you can sit back and relax in Tasmania. That's what I like about here. That same thing, if you ask me, did I get it in Melbourne? For the 4 years I stayed in Melbourne? Nope. Not even a single day. Not everything went according to the plan. Obviously, because of the decisions that I took, and the government when they change the rules, Mark, I should tell you this as well, because so I just got married that year, and then the government said, hey, if you're married you get less points, but if you're single you get more points. So those if you ask me now, hey, would you not marry if you knew that decision? I would say no. I can't let a government decide my life. You know what I'm saying? Those decisions that the government makes impacts a lot in our life, as an immigrant. Just saying, if you're single you get 10 points, if you're married you get 5 points, bang. So I was leading the race for my PR, and then that decision just put me out of the back, and then everyone at the back, they came to the front. I was very unhappy. I was very unhappy. I was lost. I got myself 2 sisters, one elder, one younger, and my mom. My mom, she just flew to Sri Lanka before this whole COVID thing started. Last week, my sisters who were in Melbourne, my younger sister, she flew to Sri Lanka as well. So my elder sister, she's still in Melbourne. So I had the whole family in Melbourne. So this February I had the whole family in Melbourne, and I bought a ticket to surprise them. But this COVID thing came, bang, I couldn't go, and then my mom went to Sri Lanka. Still, I had my 2 sisters in the same country, but we couldn't visit each other. So, and my sister gave birth last year, so my niece, she just turned one year in August. This is August, August. And then I was hoping that I could go to the party, but I still couldn't because of this COVID. So. Life has changed a lot, and we still don't know when we will be able to see each other, even though we are in the same country. It's funny, but who knew?